once again, this is my dad, basically. My brother got lucky, got into Andover, and I did too. And my dad encouraged both of us to apply. There was something, he went to like Wellesley High School. I think he always felt that prep schools like Andover offered something extra, and he was right. So while I'm glad I went to Andover, one little problem came up, which is I didn't get into any colleges. I applied to 4 places and they all rejected me. And so my dad was sort of saying, "What the fuck happened?" He was really, he just couldn't understand it. And basically, the short answer is that I had undiagnosed attention deficit disorder, and that's accompanied by low self-esteem. You can't finish the book. You don't function in a competitive academic environment. You don't do too well. And at that place like that, which is a little bit of a pressure cooker, I looked around frantically and I saw these guys painting in the art studios. And I met a guy named Gerald Schertzer, who was a gifted American sculptor. And he kind of took me under his wing and he said, "Oh, come on in here. I'll help. You can do some forged steel sculpture, and you can." And I was, thank God for him, I barely made it through the classes. I honestly don't know how I got through architecture school, because that was a 5-year program. I skipped ahead a little bit. So I graduated from Andover, had no colleges to go to. The one smart thing I did, and my parents helped me find a job in New York City at it was a research lab at a hospital. I was a lab rat. I was pipetting and working with animal testing and all kinds of, and I lived in the Lower East Side, East 6th Street, Alphabet City. And my brother was between, he'd just gotten he'd taken a leave from college. And our rent was $32 a month for a 3-bedroom. It was Lower East Side, Alphabet City. But we both grew up there. We had like day jobs, and I went to Columbia Night School trying to make up some lost time. I didn't know what to do, and by the end of that year, the draft was hot on my tail. It was 60. Oh God, dating myself. It was late 66, 67, and the dean at Andover called Cal Berkeley and said, "I got this guy. He'd probably do well in architecture." And that's how I got into architecture. I mean, he was right. I enjoyed architecture. I enjoyed the classes, except when it came time to start to measure and lay out a building and arrange the furniture and place the columns and stuff. It was just hell to pay. So I did the same thing. I did a lot of photography and a little bit of filmmaking. And it was the same kind of thing. I was struggling, and I didn't really know why. So I graduated, sort of made a half-assed effort to look for jobs. Got with a small firm, worked for one firm in Wyoming, and then I moved to New York and got some jobs there. I just hated them, and I was absolutely miserable. And finally, my brother started to produce an anti-war film. This was 71, 70. And he did a 35 millimeter color feature film about the Vietnam War. And it was a radical film that you're lucky you have never seen it, because it was pretty awful. But I was the assistant cameraman with a really good director. I learned a lot about shooting, and my brother went on to a pretty good career in filmmaking, and he wound up in advertising, actually. But that was it. I said, finally, I found something I can do, and it's fun. And I chose still photography later, because filmmaking can ruin your life. Some of these productions, you got to go to East Jesus for 8, 10 weeks. It can ruin home life. So I thought still photography was kind of a better thing for me. And it worked out. I was lucky. My wife supported us for 2.5, 3 years with her textile designs while I was chasing work. And then after about 3 years, I started getting some work. So I was, classic, poor but happy, right? So it worked out. But I think this is a public service announcement. If anybody out there watching this thing has trouble focusing, I highly recommend getting some professional help. And the drug that saved me is just called Adderall. I don't take much of it. I don't have very high dosage. I'm lucky, but it really made my life from kind of chaos to happiness. I mean, you can get from A to B without going to L and Q and R. It's a really great. Thank heavens, it's a diagnosed thing now that's pretty easy to treat. So if you're out there, don't hesitate. You can beat yourself up.